views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Good evening and welcome to Bronx Talk. The vibrant and diverse international communities who have settled in the Bronx over the generations have been fundamental contributors to our culture here. They contribute to our lives, our economy, and to the wondrous rainbow that makes up the borough of the Bronx. Tonight we take a unique look at the West African community that has settled here from Ghana. We've got a local leader who will talk about Ghanaians in the Bronx, although they got my pronunciation earlier, told me it was Ghanaians in the Bronx, as well as a man who's been on our show before and does remarkable life-saving work rescuing African children who have been trafficked in cruel child labor exploitation. It's a fascinating story of courage and dedication, and there's a good ending to the story as well. No phone calls tonight, we're on tape, but questions or comments can be emailed to us at bronxtalk@bronxnet.org, and we read those on the air during a future edition of our program. For here and now, the president of the Yankasa Association, a Ghanaian Islamic socio-cultural organization. He's also a member of Community Board 4, member of the African Advisory Council to the Bronx Borough President, former Secretary General of the National Council of Ghanaian Associations, Mr. Mohammed Marda. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you very much for having me, Gary.
And from Right to Be Free, the organization's founder and a freedom fighter of the highest order, my friend Eric Piazza. Nice to see you again, Eric.
Thank you, Gary.
Good, nice to have you. Mr. Marda, let's start with you. Just give me a picture and give our viewers a picture of the Ghanaian community that has settled here in the Bronx. What's it like for them? Are they happy here? Are they acclimated? Just give me an overall before we get into specifics.
Well, yeah. Anyway, thank you very much, Gary, for having us, and it's an honor to be on your show. I've watched the show several times,
Thank you.
And I'm really excited to be here. But to just give you a snapshot of Ghanaians in this community or in the Bronx, I think for the last 10 years, there's been a major influx of immigrants, not only from Ghana, but from all of West Africa, primarily because of the DV, the diversity visa lottery system that was instituted during Bill Clinton's time, which gave a certain number of visas to different countries that didn't have a large population immigrating to the U.S. And so you had a major influx. For the most part, most Ghanaians coming here are highly educated. One thing I always tell people is that very, very few poor people actually get a chance to immigrate to the United States, because the ticket price alone for an airplane is over $1,000.
You know, that's a stereotype breaker to begin with. People would say, of course, they come here, they have no money, they have no education, so they want to tap into, the wonderful resources that are here. And you're saying it's actually the opposite.
It's actually the opposite, because a lot of them come here for the opportunity, because one of the problems that we face in Ghana, and I'm sure my brother can elaborate on that a little bit more, is the lack of opportunities for most college graduates, university graduates. You have people graduating from some of the major universities in Ghana, and there are no jobs for them. And so a lot of them, when the opportunity comes to travel outside, they grab it.
That I have to interject. That is just a fascinating, as I said, stereotype breaker. People would not have thought that. So when they get here, and the families that settled, and you're mostly in the hybrid section of the Bronx, the
Right.
west part of the Bronx,
Right.
When they get here, are they able to acclimate? Are they able to find jobs and be moderately successful or wildly successful here?
I think for the most part they become moderately successful because one of the things that helps is organizations like Young Casa Association and other ethnic groups that have come together to kind of help the new immigrants navigate this wonderful system that we have in America. And with people like me who actually had the opportunity to graduate from Lehman College and know my way around city government and those type of things, I'm able to help, new immigrants come in as far as, when they're looking for social services or immigration, those kinds of things. We're able to help them to get settled. And once they settle, we show them there's two ways in America. You have to get an education in order to better yourself, and most people listen to us.
And before we ask Mr. Piazza a couple of impressions that he has also from his country, are there trends as far as the types of jobs and types of careers they look for, or is it really those kinds of choices are made as diverse as any Native Americans, if you will?
Well, right now, I think the healthcare industry has become very, very popular.
Wow, that brings up a whole other subject
Absolutely.
which we have to talk about.
The healthcare, a lot of people coming here now, everybody wants to be a nurse or a physician's assistant.
Really?
Absolutely, or anesthesiologist and those type of areas. So we have a lot of, people gravitating towards that area because there is an availability of jobs, and it's something that's transferable to Ghana.
And that certainly jives with the opportunities in the Bronx.
Absolutely.
And again, before I go to Mr. Piazza, is that one of the reasons that they come to the Bronx, because of opportunities in healthcare?
Absolutely.
Wow.
And
We're learning a lot tonight,
and
aren't we?
colleges like Bronx Community College have a great, nursing program
Sure.
where a lot of these young people,
Right.
you guide them the right way, and they get embraced by Bronx Community College, and they do well.
Mr. Piazza, before we talk about some of the great work that you do, what about Ghanaian culture do you think is worth kind of exporting here? What can Americans learn from what you folks do there that you do well, or that's part of your community that you think we could benefit from?
I think that one thing that I always tell people is that back home in Africa, you are learned to become a survivor. That's the first thing you have to learn. And I always make fun jokes with this story that, in Africa, when you give birth to a child, and the child is in the cot, I know how you call it, it's cot, we call it cot.
Yes.
And then the mother is in the kitchen, they put something like a speaker or radio, something in the cot, that the child cries, the mother gets in the kitchen.
Okay.
In Africa, you don't see that. You must cry by 5 times before you're ahead. So it teaches you to become survivor, and it gives that.
So
kind
that's
of
survival instinct.
That you can withstand all kinds of pressure, all kinds of things that you go through.
And I guess that reflects back with what Mr. Marta was saying about how so they come here and then they're successful even though there may be some issues.
Absolutely.
Because they're really dedicated toward that notion of success.
Yeah, but they really want to succeed and go back home.
Absolutely.
Most people come here with a goal that I'm coming here to work hard, make money, to go back home.
Mm-hmm.
So that's some of the drive they do. And
I want to get into the healthcare issue. Now, the Ebola crisis, we're on tape, and so this is not going to be seen till a little bit later, so we don't know the very specifics of what might happen. You were in Ghana, I guess, most recently. When was the last time you were there?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. Talk to me about the attitude in West Africa about this crisis. Are they, is it all over the newspapers like it is here? Or is it just, frankly, another day and another issue that has to be dealt with?
I think initially when it came out, people didn't take it seriously. So the intervention was not serious. So it became an epidemic. Let's let me put it that way. So, for example, initially Ghana, we were not screening anybody. You traveled to Kenya, nobody screened anybody. But now, about a couple of months before I came, before you travel, when you're coming to a country, whether you're from Europe, you are from Asia, you are from any country you're coming from, you get to the airport, you'll be screened in Ghana. That's it. When you're coming by road, you're coming to the country, you'll be screened.
Mr. Marta, is there a way to compare the healthcare structure there to the healthcare structure here? You say people come and they want to be in the healthcare industry.
Right.
Is that because there is not a strong healthcare industry, which of course could lead to the kind of crisis that maybe we have, or is it a kind of different sorts of issues?
I think it's different sorts of issues. I think one of the advantages that's prevalent here in America is we have the strong institutions, and that is what's lacking in Ghana. For example, when I was growing up, pretty much in Accra, which is considered the capital, there were maybe 2 or 3 major hospitals, and that wasn't enough to serve the entire population, and that's what we're lacking. It's the strong hospitals, that can actually take care of people, and so you have a lot of the hospitals get overwhelmed.
I'm going to say maybe this is a little bit of something that you could learn from us. This is some good old-fashioned capitalism. Build something big and see how many people we could get cared for.
Let me say something about this healthcare issue that most Africans are going into. It's about, I think, to me, what I realize is most of them is that it's an area you can get job easily.
Yeah.
So people, for example, back home, people want to go to and do nursing training college back home in Ghana to enable them travel to Europe or US to work there. So there's ready market for them when they finish. When you come to a country like US, America, and you want to work, and there's no work, the healthcare have work to take care of people. So most people would like to go to healthcare and learn so they can get a job easily. That's why most of them are going to that profession.
Absolutely.
I knew of a Ghanaians who have finished nursing training college in Ghana, but you want to come to the US to work.
Because there's no jobs. This
there's
is
no
certainly
job.
what he was saying.
So that.
But I want to get to you and your work with Right to Be Free, Mr. Piazza. So lay it out for us. I mean, I'm going to give the basics, is that there are children who are being basically sold into this and trafficked into this industry so they work. Describe what they do and then what you do. And then we're going to show a short clip of a video that explains it.
I think basically parents, because of lack of poverty, they give their children out to these fishermen who enslave them, put them in bondage, and use them for fishing. For example, somebody, because he's poor, he can give his child to this fisherman for $20, $50, for the boy to go and work for the fisherman. Some of the parents think that they are doing the children a favor, so they give them the fishermen. The fishermen use them for fishing. The children dive into the lake, the lake is a man-made lake, so a lot of tree stumps in the lake. They dive into the lake Volta Lake,
yes,
to entangle the nets. They eat once a day. They work about 18 to 19 hours a day. They wake up very early, and they are so young. At the age of 6, 7, 8, 12, they do that kind of thing, and it's dangerous.
And do they ever get back home, or that once they're sold in this way?
No, some of them do get back home. They go and work for they give them for 5 years. When they finish 5 years, they give them another 2 years, 3 years. But the challenge is that most of them, when they get to the age of 18, 19, 20, and they cannot go again, they begin to rebel.
Let's watch the video. It's so disturbing, but as I mentioned earlier, the good news is the work that Mr. Piazza does, and it's illustrated in the video. And then we'll talk some more about it and the difficulties you find, and of course then the successes that you find, because there are some. So let's roll the tape. This is from our friends at Right to Be Free, and let's see what we got.
It's 4:30 in the morning, and many traffic boys start their workday in the pre-dawn hours when it's still dark outside. While Ghana is a few degrees north of the equator, it's still quite cool in the morning. Shortly after dawn, we came across a fisherman and a young boy working on the lake. Eric has climbed into the canoe to talk to the fisherman. Since he's never met him before, Eric introduces himself and tries to gather information about the traffic boy. Eric finds out the boy is 10 years old and his name is Kwame. He's the only boy working for the fisherman, although in some cases, a fisherman may own more than one canoe and have several boys working for him. Kwame frequently dives underwater since the fishing net often is caught on something. Eric puts his hand in the water and says, "It is very, very cold." The fisherman tugs gently on the fishing net to see if it's untangled. Eventually, it becomes free, and he starts pulling it up. Kwame remains underwater as he continues to free the net. On this particular dive, he stays underwater for 40 seconds. Eric, meanwhile, continues to talk to the fishermen to develop a relationship. Finally, Kwame resurfaces from the freezing water and pulls himself into the boat. He continues to shiver as he faces Eric so they can talk. Eric talks to Kwame to try and find out where he's from. The boys are often too afraid to talk to Eric, even when the fisherman is not present, for fear of being beaten afterwards. At one point, Eric removes his life vest to give to Kwame because he's so cold. Kwame tries to answer Eric's questions and watches Eric stops the fisherman when he tries to speak for Kwame. At times, Kwame finds it difficult to speak because he's shivering so much. Kwame's body is overdeveloped from the intense physical labor that any adult would find challenging. This strenuous labor creates microfractures, which weaken bones, making them more susceptible to fracture or breakage. This often painful condition impedes bone growth, so these boys won't reach their normal height even if they are rescued. Eric successfully negotiates Kwame's release later that day. However, Kwame really doesn't fully comprehend his imminent freedom, because usually the negotiations take place over numerous meetings over a period of months or even years. Kwame is to some degree in a state of shock and doesn't truly understand he's going to be free.
There we go. I'm going to applaud for the work that Eric Piazza does saving children.
Thank you.
Eric, so when you go to the fishermen, and here in this case there was a video obviously right nearby, they don't say get out of here, get away, and do you feel in danger at all, or is it because of your engaging personality? What is it that lets you in there to make this happen?
I think that I don't go there fighting them. I go there educating them. They are part of education. Some of them, they do it ignorantly. They don't know what they are doing. So they think that they are doing the children a favor. So I try and go there and educate them.
I'm giving you work, I'm giving you something
I'm feeding you, I'm giving your mother money every quarter, something, to take care of your other siblings. So I'm doing you a favor. So I go there and talk to them and engage them. Some of them too, I organize the whole community and help them to find alternative way of fishing. For example, I help them build fish pond in the lake. So a fisherman will put small fish into the lake, feed them, and then they begin to harvest them.
So that they don't have to use
children.
This method.
So but I do it for all the community. So if you don't let children go, I will not do it. I will not give it to your community. So that we do some kind of activity.
How long have you been doing this?
Since 2002. I've rescued
so
about
12 years in.
I rescued about 894 children.
He says about 894. That's not about. He's counting every single one, and God bless him for doing that. And then what happens to the children?
You can't take the children from that place and take them to their parents. No.
Why is that?
Because they've gone through a lot of problems. So you need to help them to overcome the trauma and challenges.
Acclimation issue.
So we take them to the rehab center for 3 to 6 months to help them to rehab them. Then we begin to look for their parents. At times it becomes so difficult to find their parents. So we have to go and look for their parents, then find out why they gave them out, and find out what we can do to support the parents to enable them help these children. But if you give the child back to the parent without supporting the parent, you have not done anything. The child will be re-trafficked again.
Re-trafficked again. Which brings up a question that maybe I should have asked at the beginning. Why do parents do this? One would say, gee whiz, you're going to let your child get into a situation like this.
One, ignorance.
They don't realize what they're doing.
They think that
it's like summer camp.
They are giving them hope. And two, they are deceived because the fishermen tell them, listen, let your children come to work with me, stay with me, and I'll give them X, Y, Z. Take them to school and support them. And because the person is poor, the child will get food to eat, so his life will come better off there. That's where it begins.
Yeah, I'm afraid to ask you this question, and that is, you say you've rescued 894. How many children are still working in that condition, or we don't even want to think about it?
There are about thousands of them still out there. The lake is very big from the top to the down there. But thank God that during the education we are giving them, we are creating awareness among the fishermen. So gradually, they are becoming aware. And we are also helping the parents where they send from to understand the fact that what the children go to do there is not good. So some of them, we should go and show them some of this documentary for them to understand the issue. So I think gradually we are getting there, but there are a lot of children out there still fishing.
Mr. Marta, do people in Ghana and even Ghanaians here understand this kind of thing, or are we presenting something that is, for want of a better word, foreign to you?
No. I mean, this is something that's been going on, as Eric said, for a long time. I mean, it's I would almost say that it's part of a culture, and the good thing that I like about what Eric is doing is supporting the families that are selling their children, because that's the root cause of the problem, is the poverty. And once these parents understand or see what these children are going through, they realize that they're not offering those children any hope. One of the misconceptions of some of these parents is that they think it's an apprenticeship, where the child will develop,
so I said, like summer camp, you're gonna go
so
away
they
for a
will
while,
develop those skills as they get older, but it's really a myth, and it's really grueling. So we understand, what Eric is doing. We appreciate what Eric's doing.
And I must say, based on the things we've heard even today, and certainly for the years that I've known Eric before, the fact that he doesn't just go in there basically with a gun and say, give up those children, but comes up with a long-term solution, even for number one, to educate the parents, but also even for the fishermen. You know what? You don't have to do it this way. That's, of course, a sensible way, maybe a slow way of doing it, because we'd all like to grab those kids and say, come on home right away.
But that's the right way to go about it, because if you go in there with guns blazing, you're going to meet a lot of resistance.
Well, you're going to have and endanger, of course,
absolutely, and not only from the fishermen who are actually exploiting these children, but from their families, because they don't know any better.
Is there Mr. Piazza, is there a next step or something different, or really it's simply just identifying them, as many as you can, one by one, and getting them out, or is there a larger picture here?
There are a couple of approaches that we are using. There's one called protection. What I'm doing is doing protection. I'm doing another one called prevention, trying to support the parents who have not sent their children. The third approach is prosecution, which means that once a while we'll find one person to prosecute him, to put fear in the rest. But it's not easy to prosecute such cases.
I was going to say it's not easy, and then you get into all the things that we have
because of family issues. Someone says it's my own child, it's my sister's child, it's that kind of thing. Because in Africa, back home in Ghana, most kids in those areas don't have what they call birth certificates to identify who is their parents. And most of the fishermen change the children's name into their own name. So it becomes so difficult. So we use people within the community to identify as to know who is trafficked, who is not trafficked.
And needless to say, and as so many of the, let's say, not-for-profits and people in the Bronx that do good work, you could use more money. So people who go to righttobefree.org, righttobefree.org, and there's a way to donate and support. Even a kind word. I know Mr. Piazza for long enough to know that moral support is just as important, because it's not easy for you to do what you do.
Yeah, it's not. At times, one day I went to an island, somebody changed with a machete.
Really?
And you have to run for our life in the island. So if you don't
and he says that with a smile. I'm freaking out here.
Yeah, but one of the things that I have this year, which really breaks my heart, is that one boy that I rescued this year had a problem. His mother is mentally challenged, his father is deceased, and then his grandmother gave them out. And then he slipped and hit his back again on the canoe. He had 6 of his spine broken. He needed surgery. And that's one of the biggest challenges that we're going to have.
Because you want to try and support him. Yeah. And here's a young man who came out of a family of poverty and now has even less of a family because he can't be in touch with them. Yeah. Eric Piazza, thank you so much for the work that you do. There is a sense of humanity here that cuts across borders and boundaries. It's just people, adults taking care of children, and we do appreciate it. Righttobefree.org. Mr. Marta, what's the future for the Ghanaian population here in the Bronx? What kinds of things would you like to see?
The future looks good, actually. We were fortunate to have this past summer one of our young women actually run for city council. Miss Naima Mohammed, she ran for the 16th district, which is Highbridge, which is a highly populated Ghanaian. area. And so we're excited about that, and I'm so glad that she did, because she has opened a lot of eyes to
That
some
people
of these
say,
young
wow,
people.
we
Absolutely,
deserve and can get...
absolutely, and we can do it. And so that's what I'm looking for my communities to get a lot more involved in politics.
The Borough President's African Advisory Council?
Yes.
Tell me about it, just real quick.
Well,
I mean, it's been helpful?
It's been very, very helpful. I think one of the good things is that it has harnessed all the potential leadership of Africans in the Bronx. It has brought us all together where we can coordinate all of our efforts. And in turn, the borough president has an avenue where if he needs to address any issue within the African community, he knows he can go through the African Advisory Council. Whereas in the past, it was very difficult to identify who the leaders were.
Or even have a communication.
Or even have communication.
Before we go, I asked you a lot about the economics, about people, what kind of lives they want to lead, et cetera, et cetera. Just, is it possible to maintain culture and aspects of your culture from home here in the borough of the Bronx, or is that a struggle as well?
No. That's the good thing about America.
There we go.
America welcomes everybody.
And our home in the BX.
Absolutely, it's the melting pot, and so it's not that hard. Most of the things that we did back home, we're able to do it here without any issues. And so, we love it.
If people want to contact you or other African, specifically West African organizations, how could they do that?
Well, very easy. You can email me, mmada@aol.com. You can call my cell phone.
Don't put your cell phone on.
No, I'm not going to put it out there.
Let's do the email. And certainly call the Borough President's office and ask about the African Advisory Council. And that really would, we always like to reach out to people and say, you know what? There's people that you can associate with, places to get support or advice, especially people who understand your culture.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Eric Piazza, thank you so much for the great work you do. I urge everyone to take a look at righttobefree.org and give and support in every way possible.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and Mohammed Marta, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Folks, if you have further comments or questions on anything you heard on tonight's show, anything going on in the Bronx, email them to us at BronxTalk@BronxNet.org, or put them on our Facebook page and we'll read them on the air during a future edition of our program. Please make sure you like the Bronx Talk Facebook page, and you can check out our archives at BronxNet.org. You find Bronx Talk in the lower right navigation bar. Thanks to our producer, Dalia Gonzalez. Our director is Neilani Rodriguez. And guess what? You're right. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Cook foods to the right temperature using a food thermometer. 3,000 Americans will die from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.